State of Decay 3 and Gears of War E-Day, two of my favorite games of all time, are both reportedly going to the PlayStation 5. And I gotta tell you, this might be some of the best news, guys, that we could possibly get. Even though I kind of assumed it with Gears of War E-Day, I had no idea that they were thinking about doing a PlayStation, port for State of Decay 3. And that is such good news, because not only does that lead us to, Gears of War E-Day, more than likely, unless it's a totally, a terrible entry in the series, which I think we're all anticipating that's going to be great. I think it's going to be the biggest Gears of War title of all time. State of Decay 3 coming to PlayStation 5. State of Decay 3, guys, without question, will be the biggest State of Decay game of all time, and it's not even going to be close. And I think that State of Decay is going to go mainstream. I really do. I believe that State of Decay 3 is going to be something really special, especially with it now going to PlayStation 5. You're reaching out to now that entire fan base, and all that player base as well. I think it's going to be huge. But let's talk about this. And I want to talk about it from two separate perspectives. I want to talk about State of Decay 3, and I want to talk about Gears of War E-Day and what this means for each of these franchises, because they're both horror games. Even though Gears of War E-Day is a third-person shooter that has a lot of action, it's got a lot of horror elements as well. So we'll talk about Gears of War E-Day, and we're going to talk about State of Decay 3. So let's kind of break this down. In this article that's coming to us from Eurogamer and Victoria Phillips Kennedy over there, PlayStation 5 owners are reportedly getting 2 more Xbox published titles added to their roster. According to a report by MP First, both Gears of War E-Day and State of Decay 3 will be coming to PS5. The publication cited resumes of developers working on each game, with both listing the PS5 as a target platform for their respective titles. This is massive news, guys. And what's interesting is I did a show. Let's see. We did a show. I don't know. It was probably about close to a week ago, where Jeff had mentioned to me on the show that Death Stranding was available on the Xbox. And I was like, wait, dude, Death Stranding's on Xbox? When obviously Death Stranding, for those of you guys who don't know, has been a PlayStation exclusive since the very beginning for, Death Stranding when that game released. And now you have Death Stranding 2 on the Beach that came out. Those are 2 games that came out from Hideo Kojima. And obviously Hideo Kojima now is more than likely working on OD with Xbox Game Studios. But nonetheless, the fact that not only is PlayStation giving Xbox some of their titles, I believe that this is a true truce that's happening right now within the console wars. I believe that. I think what we're seeing right now, if Gears of War E-Day and State of Decay 3 go to PlayStation, I believe that the console wars are kind of over, where now they're trying to live kind of in harmony, so to speak. You have Death Stranding coming on Xbox now. You have Helldivers 2 that's going to be coming to Xbox. Gears of War Reloaded is going to be going to PlayStation. If you have Gears of War E-Day and State of Decay 3, this is just going to be good for these franchises as a whole. I mean, they just are. The exclusivity was always an interesting element to gaming, and it's kind of stemmed back for a number of years. But I think that it was time that these consoles, nothing is really put behind the console in terms of like console exclusive titles. I think that what needs to happen is Xbox and PlayStation create a super console to take down Nintendo. That's what I personally think. But Xbox has been steadily adding more of its games to additional platforms. Last year, Microsoft confirmed its plans to bring 4 previously Xbox exclusive first-party titles to PlayStation 5 and Switch, with more to follow. And they have. Following the successful release of Grounded, Sea of Thieves, and Hi-Fi Rush across additional platforms, Microsoft has since released the likes of Forza Horizon 5 and Indiana Jones and the Great Circle on PlayStation. Meanwhile, the original Gears of War has been confirmed to be coming to PlayStation later this year as part of the revamped Reloaded edition of the game. And you know what I'm going to say about that, guys, is if I was Xbox or PlayStation, I wouldn't put anything on the Switch. I mean, I know the Switch is a massive console, but if they don't want to play ball with you in terms of like the Switch doesn't want to give up, giving Xbox players Mario or PlayStation fans, Zelda or whatever, right? I think that they should play hardball. They shouldn't, give anything to the Switch. Let the Switch do its thing. It's the highest selling console of all time, and it's not even close. So I really think that, Xbox and PlayStation are starting to, it's interesting. It'll be really interesting to see how this relationship or, how they coexist in the future. But as far as okay, here's what we'll start with. We'll start with Gears of War. So Gears of War E-Day. Interestingly enough, guys, let me just pull this up real quick here. This is giving me a hard time. Okay. So what I was going to say is it therefore would not be surprising to see Gears of War E-Day pop up on PlayStation 5, even if not as a day one release. The next entry in the series is a prequel title set 14 years before the events of the original game. Gears of War E-Day is being co-developed with People Can Fly. Late last year, it was revealed John DiMaggio and Carlos Ferro will be reprising the roles as Marcus Phoenix and Dominic Santiago in Gears of War E-Day, which is awesome. I think that it will come to PlayStation 5 day one. But I also think, obviously it's coming to Game Pass on day one, so people who have the Xbox, if you have the Game Pass subscription, you're going to be able to play Gears of War E-Day day one for free, and that's awesome. But I do think that it will come to PlayStation 5 day one, which it should. Now, State of Decay 3, this leads one to wonder whether the first two games in the series may eventually arrive on PlayStation as well. State of Decay 3 was initially announced during Microsoft's 2020 Xbox showcase. Things went dark for a little while, and there were reports alleging mismanagement at developer Undead Labs in 2022. The game subsequently reappeared last year with a new trailer. With State of Decay, it's a little bit, I think I would love to see State of Decay 1 and State of Decay 2 come to the PlayStation. I don't know if they're gonna, that being Xbox or Undead Labs or whatever, are going to want to do I don't know if they'll want to do a remaster. I don't like kind of what Gears of War is doing. I just don't think they're going to do that because Gears of War 1 came out in 2006. It came out so long ago. And so having Gears of War Reloaded makes sense. I think that they could very well port it, that being State of Decay 1 and 2, over to the PlayStation before State of Decay 3 releases. So they release 1 and 2 onto the PlayStation consoles, say, a number of months, maybe 6 months, maybe even a year before State of Decay 3 comes out. I could totally see Xbox doing that. To accompany the trailer, studio head Philip Holt teased some of the ideas driving State of Decay 3's development. The first thing that I hope people pick up from the trailer is that there's 4 playable characters we're highlighting, he explained at the time. 3 of them start in different places in the world, so we're implying this idea of a shared world experience, not just a ride-along, and that the boundaries in which you can go off independently are going to be much, much greater than they were in State of Decay 2. So that's going to be interesting. I'm excited to see further gameplay. Obviously, we got a tease of gameplay with the last trailer we got, guys, at the last Xbox Game Showcase of 2024. But obviously, we want to see more, right? And I wouldn't mind, I'm hoping that State of Decay 3 has like a demo, things of that nature that we're able to play at some point just to make sure that any bugs, glitches, those get refined from Undead Labs. Same thing with Gears of War E-Day. I mean, I'm sure they're going to have a beta. Gears of War has always had, for the most part, betas to play. So I'm hoping State of Decay 3 does this as well. We got a, hey Survivor, big fan of your work. Good job, Central State of Decay. I appreciate you. Appreciate you in a massive way. Thank you, man. But anyways, so I think that when I look at State of Decay 3, Gears of War E-Day coming to PlayStation, it makes sense for all parties involved. And with PlayStation giving Xbox more and more games, I mean, guys, if we would have went back 1 year ago, if you would have asked me, hey, Zero, will PlayStation ever release Death Stranding on Xbox? I would say, you can never say never, right? You can never say never. But if you were to say, hey, are they going to release it on Xbox in a year? I would have said absolutely not. I think that, Death Stranding, God of War, Ghost of Tsushima, The Last of Us, I would never think that those games would get ported to the Xbox, a year ago, right? But now that Death Stranding is on Xbox now, that you can actually get it, and we're getting Helldivers 2, PlayStation's getting Gears of War Reloaded. To me, I'm like, dude, the sky is the limit here, bro. Like, they could absolutely crush it with the player base that PlayStation currently possesses. You put Gears of War E-Day on there, it'll be the biggest Gears of War title of all time. I believe that. I actually think there's a possibility that Gears of War Reloaded will be the biggest Gears of War title ever, and it's like a remaster of Gears of War 1. So that's telling you something. State of Decay 3, I believe, is going to go global if you put it on PlayStation as well as Xbox. I think it will be a full-blown franchise that is here to stay, without question. I believe it will be massive amongst horror fans, because there's a lot of, I think about PlayStation, think about Days Gone. They never got a Days Gone 2. A lot of PlayStation fans, they're clamoring for a game probably like State of Decay, period. And when State of Decay 3 goes on PlayStation, it's going to be absolutely monstrous for the franchise and for PlayStation as well. I think it could be absolutely huge. I really do. I think that both of these games going to PlayStation are going to be massive ordeals for the future. But the question is for all of you guys out there, what do you think about this? The reports are State of Decay 3, Gears of War E-Day are coming to PlayStation 5, which, if it's true, is massive news. And I believed that Gears of War E-Day was going to be coming to PlayStation 5 because of Gears of War Reloaded. And, obviously it seemed like they were kind of teasing us, telling us like, hey, Reloaded's going to PlayStation. Maybe Gears of War E-Day is going to be following suit. But State of Decay 3 is the real surprise. I thought it would be like maybe State of Decay 4 would get onto PlayStation. But things are moving quicker than I thought with Xbox and PlayStation working together on porting their own games onto the other platform. But the question is for you guys, do you think this is true first and foremost? And what do you think this is going to do for State of Decay 3, for Gears of War? And I really should say the SOD and Gears of War franchises as a whole. What do you guys think about it? Let us know in that comment section down below and let us know your thoughts.